Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting Emily French. She's co-founder of the Lemonade Standards. She's an expert in teaching kids financial literacy through games, play, and hands-on experience. How you doing today, Emily?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I've mostly kicked this cold out, so I'm 97%. Still a
Yes.
little bit of residual, but I'm almost done with it, I think.
Tis the season. I hope you're feeling better soon.
Yeah, no, I definitely just get it over with. Fine. I did my
Yeah,
time. Everybody else is
exactly.
dealing with it now. That stinks, but sorry, it's your turn. So
Yes.
awesome. So where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
So I am located in the Seattle, Washington area. Yeah, so over here on the Pacific Northwest, and a truly rainy day, which fits all of the kind of classic stereotypes of Seattle.
Yeah, no, every time I think of it, that's what you think of. It's just rainy. So are you originally from the area or are you newer there?
No, so I grew up in Idaho. I spent a year living abroad in Chile, actually, with a host family for a year. And then I went to college and then came to Seattle for an internship for my very first career in the professional world.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. How was Chile?
oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the food. It's fantastic. It's great.
Would you live there again or are you happier in Seattle or in the Washington, do you think?
Oh, I love adventures, so I would happily live abroad again. And so yes, I would go for it again. I think I had a unique spot where it was right between college and end of high school. And so it was a really great moment of just opening my mind to the rest of the world and getting a little life experience before jumping into the studies. So
Yeah, for sure. So
highly recommend.
what do you recommend if somebody's visiting Washington? What's in your neck of the
Mm.
woods that people should do?
Oh gosh, well, I think there's the classics. In fact, I had a gal who lived with me from England for 3 months when she was working on her PhD, and I treated her like my own foreign exchange student. And so I think there's so much to explore if you're big into sports. Go into tons of sporting activities. Taking a ferry boat is always a classic Seattle thing here, and there's so many beautiful locations and other communities to visit around the area. And then I'm a huge fan of the mountains. So those are maybe a few things outside of the obviously Space Needle and Pike Place Market are classics. But if you're big into like mountain biking or skiing, great options as well. So yeah, beautiful
But
city.
bring a rain jacket is what you're saying if you're going out.
Yeah, just bring a range. Yeah, exactly. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I like that. So awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you're doing? What can you tell us about Lemonade Sanders?
Yeah, so Lemonade Standards was founded about a year and a half ago. My sister and I had just been to this conference slash, like, I guess concert is what we joke about, where we were meeting and hearing from all these incredible kind of entrepreneurs who were sharing about how they were bringing their unique value into the world. And we left that feeling so inspired and sort of like, okay, well, what could we do that would feel just as inspiring and just as exciting to other people and to ourselves? And so we were kind of ideating, and her and I are extremely close. And so, my background has been most recently been in people leadership, and I loved it. And I loved coaching people on their career development, in all those areas. And so I was like, oh, how can I like feed this into kind of career coaching and helping people identify what they love and kind of bring that to reality. At the same time, my sister had been on this entrepreneurship kind of journey for much longer. And over the summer, she kept on sharing these stories about how her kids had run their first lemonade stand and just the incredible lessons they'd learned in that. One, the excitement that they had around the ownership of their own business. And two, just the value of like, gosh, they were learning how to like market and sell. And they were learning how, like, they were making decisions for the first time about money where they felt the impact of it, right? So I think my sister and brother-in-law were angel investors for the first go around. And then after that, they're like, okay, when you go to the store, go buy and you get to choose your lemonade, and that's going to adjust your profits, and kind of walking them through those steps of helping them bring money to the forefront and realities there. And so as we were chatting, we're like, gosh, like, through my career coaching, I realized what held so many people back was financing. And it was either because they just didn't have the right, like, they didn't have the right money mindsets or the confidence in how to use money as a tool to get them to what they wanted to do. Or two, they had, maybe they made really big mistakes when they were kids and they're still, or young adults rather, not kids, but young adults, and they're still recovering, specifically around credit. Or three, maybe it was that they now just had so much more at stake that making a shift to something where where they were going to be experimenting with money in a new way felt really scary and unapproachable. And so we're like, well, what if we merge these two together? We know that it takes 7 to 8 times to build a new skill or habit, and working with money or financial literacy is no exception, right? And so we said, well, what if we could help kind of take that learning curve? I'm seeing all these adults who have, like a lot more at stake now, and then lift and shift that back to in their childhood. So that way, like, we're seeing this happening. We're seeing there's really important skills clicking through the lemonade stand that my sister's kiddos had held. And so like, well, what if we like merge those together so that kids could start building those reps early when the stakes are low. And they can start then having lessons in financing around, or like kind of guidance around that in an age where the stakes are not going to be, you know, putting their family in risk or things like that. So yeah, so with that, we said, okay, great. If we're going to teach kids how to money works, like I think we've got kind of our avenue of, having them run their own kid business isolates it into a place where they can manage money solely on their own and make all the decisions around it. So they have the full learnings and experience there. And then along the way, if we can teach them little things without them realizing about business, now we're starting to teach them like how can they learn how to earn money, which is part of, I say there's like a triangle. It's like, saving and investing are often where you see the most literature about building financial literacy, critical elements. But there's a foundational pieces, which is like you have to have money to invest or save before you can do that. And so learning how to earn that money to do it there.
Yeah, when I first talked to you guys, I was super impressed because it's a trope and we all talk about it. I've had the conversation hundreds of times. I wasn't taught a single thing in school about how money works, right? I
Right.
I could write cursive. I was told that I'll never have a calculator in my pocket at all times. That's
Yeah.
not true. But one of the things that we know going into school, as an adult now, kids going into school, they need to have some sort of foundational understanding of money because, like you said, you turn 18 and okay, good luck now. Go figure
Yes.
out. You're either going to go to school, you're going to take on credit, you're going to take on debts, or you're going to try and start a business for the first time. And like you said, the stakes are really high. So my experience was I can't even remember one single moment in school where I was taught anything, even remotely close to how money works and any kind
Yeah.
of financial literacy. What was your experience? Did you have any of that in school? Were you like one of the lucky few or
No. Oh, well, I did learn how to write a check, which was, I felt like even at the time felt a little obsolete. Like I was like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people using credit these days and online payment has started picking up. So that wasn't particularly useful. And I think there's one thing too, which is we had both my sister and I and our siblings, like we had our dad was an accountant. And so I think he told us the right steps to take. So when we were finally on our own, like staying on our own 2 feet, he kind of like helped make sure you're set up. But we then got to the point where I was like, wait a minute, like I don't actually know anything about how to maintain it now, right? Before like so like great, I had like I was set up in a good position. And I think that's something that I see other people do. It's like, okay, I've either gotten here by chance or by luck and figured out how to make money like work for me, or but like I don't know how to actually teach it or I don't know how to do that. So no, I think, I think most of us, any adult I've talked to, it's been, I didn't learn until I was an adult and I was finally on my own, right? And I'll ask you this too, like, do you remember when would you say you actually learned about money? Like, where were you at in your life?
it was after I started my entrepreneurship journey. It was learning how to do things myself because even as a W-2,
Hmm.
I get my check, there's taxes, it's kind of figured out for me. I don't even know unless somebody was to come out and talk to me about it. It's not something that I was looking at myself because I didn't realize how big of a blind spot I had, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it
Yeah.
was all taken care for you and you kind of transition from being a kid where I don't have to worry about this stuff to an
Yeah.
adult where, you're just a W-2 and I don't have to worry about this stuff, maybe a little bit more, but not enough. and
Ooh,
and then I started to be the entrepreneurship journey. I was like, "Oh, there's a lot here. Oh, I wish I
yes.
would have known this sooner." Oh
Yeah.
man. So about then.
And I think you call up a great thing about the W-2. There is something that, as I've been doing a bunch of research and I'm an avid researcher and I love to learn. So I was doing a bunch of research about like, okay, has there been things that have shifted or, why does this feel different from like where my parents were at? And and I was like, oh my gosh, of course. Like, there's one big shift, which is when we were, or two big shifts, I would say. The first one is, when we were growing up, all of our parents had roles or jobs where there were pensions, or the majority, right? And pensions provided this area where you didn't have to be a financial expert to be able to retire. You had to work at a company, you worked there for a long time, and your pension grew. And there was an expert who was managing, making sure that you'd be taken care of in retirement. Today, I think a lot of us are feeling now like, okay, well, that's not like now 401ks are a thing, great, but now I need to be a little bit more knowledgeable about finances on my own in order to get to that, to be able to retire and make sure that I have steady income at that retirement point, right? When I no longer am earning money. So that's like one change of like, okay, there's a new requirement that like all of us have to become a lot more like financially savvy because we have to start saving early to in order to be able to hit retirement and be able to retire, right? So there's that one. The second part is like, you know, AI is drastically changing our world, right? And I think when it comes to a lot of the roles where people have, you know, traditional W-2s and the secure jobs that exist today, you know, there's likely going to be a lot of changes around that. Now, that's not, you know, it may seem scary, but frankly, that was the case when, you know, we were growing up also. Our parents, like the roles that exist today or the the ways that people have earned money today is completely different than what it was from when our parents were or raising us. And so that's not different. It's just as a kind of acknowledgement of, hey, you know, you can't assume that the same like quote unquote secure jobs are just going to give you the same pattern and you'll automatically get if you go into the secure job you're going to be able to like do all the steps you need to do to get exactly to retirement. And so all the more reason like it's critical that we start young because when you're young is when you've got to start building that compound interest, and that's what makes financing easy. It's like when you start young it makes it easy because then you have time on your side to let your money grow and get the freedoms that you want to through that.
Yeah, what's the old saying? It's youth is wasted on the young, but
Yes. Yes.
and that's for a lot of things, but especially when it comes to money, if you know things sooner and you have
Yep.
time for things to just grow naturally, not even
Yeah.
exceptionally, just naturally, you're way better off learning and starting younger. You could stop sooner. It just what compound interest is kind of magic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of us don't realize, and it's not anyone's fault because it's not just like this new generation hasn't been taught money. It's been an ongoing thing where your parents
Right.
might not know. I was lucky enough; my mom's really good with my with money, so I kind of got a little bit of exposure to it. My dad was awful with it, horrible with it, so I saw both sides. But there's a lot of people in that side. So how are you going to be able to teach your kids something that you were never taught? So
Exactly.
is that something that you're seeing a lot too? Because your goal
Yeah.
is to teach kids financial literacy, but how many times is the parents going, I didn't even know this?
Yes. You know, it's funny. Every time we talk to parents about like, oh, this is what we do, I have so many people say, I think only half in jest of like, so can you teach adults too? Because I don't know anything about money. And, you know, my sister and I, as we've been creating some games, we're like, you know, this stuff is like, it's good for kids, but I think adults might actually learn from some of this as well. Just because we weren't taught those things, right? So a lot of us learn through experience, which is a very valuable way to learn, right? That's, I think in most things in life, we have to give it a try and learn before there's meaning in any of the research or reading or things like that we do. But in this case, there wasn't really, you know, because a lot of us didn't have that foundational stuff. It's like, oh, like how it makes it even more intimidating to teach kids about finances because we don't feel like we're coming from a super strong place. And I'll tell you that the clients we've worked with too are like they are successful professionals, right? It's not like it's somebody who's not, you know, who's struggling at all. It's like I'm talking to very successful professionals who are like, ooh, I don't know, or I know how to do this at work, or I know how to do this like on my own, but I have no idea how to teach my child this stuff because either it's just that's the strength of theirs and it's natural and it's hard to break it down, or they've never had to think about how to teach or how they learned those skills one on one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You and I will have a completely different conversation when it comes to how money works as opposed to teaching, I don't know, whatever age. It doesn't matter.
Right,
It takes
right.
different methods. Even though I think I would resonate pretty well with the games. I think I'd
Yeah.
be
Yeah, and I
right,
think a lot of us do.
right there. So, okay, awesome. So, what's a common mistake you see parents making when they're trying to teach their kids about money?
Oh, great point. You know, I think a common mistake is just being trying to teach it, like being frustrated through like, oh, they don't understand the value of a dollar without putting any of the steps in place, right? So 100% kids were never born to understand the value of a dollar, right? That's something they're going to learn. And so I think a mistake is like like just being frustrated about that and then, but not finding a path forward to help them understand that value of a dollar. And I think the other mistake is just not starting to talk about finances with their kids and being intentional about how they talk about finances to a kid. So that way it's really in that growth mindset versus, you know, versus I would try to make sure that money has a lot of emotions tied to it, right? And people don't even realize the money scripts that they've been carrying on from their families and all that. And so how do you talk about money in a way that's like money is a tool. It is nothing more than that. It is a tool, and how what we're trying to teach you is how to use this tool so that you can create the life that is meaningful to you, whatever that is, right? And whatever brings you joy.
What do you think your favorite thing is about what you guys are doing with lemonade standers?
Oh, I love, it's really fun talking to kids because just when you're working with kids, there's like an excitement level that they have. And also, we're the beauty of talking to kids also is that many of them are unshakable in their confidence, right? Like they are so, you're young and ignorant, right? Is what they say. So it's like, that's great because we can then capture that, but we're able to like support and do that. And so I think just working with kids and seeing like their excitement and enthusiasm for it is wonderful and helping them kind of like see these big ahas. And then the second thing is just like I know how critical this is for them. And so just any time we can get to spend with kids to start building those skills, like just it makes it all the more meaningful for them later in their life. And so I see it and know that it's like such a big value. And so it really is exciting and to work with them.
Okay. Yeah, and when I first heard what you guys were doing, I was like, "Oh, that makes so much sense," because like I said, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with so many people that it's finally being addressed. Like it was one of
Yes.
those things that everybody talks about but doesn't do anything about it. It continues to be a problem.
Yes.
It's like if there's an accident, you have to tell somebody you're the one that calls the ambulance, otherwise nobody's going to do it. So we're all talking
Right.
about a problem, and here's the problem still. So you guys are starting lemonade standards, you're getting out there, you're trying to meet more people. Who are good clients? Who are good avatars of who you want to meet?
Great question. So I think there's a couple things. One, first of all, like first and foremost, parents, right? So parents who are interested in teaching their kids about financial literacy. We've come up with like a avenue and a pathway to give them that hands-on experience, put them in control, and give them the real learnings. So parents, I think the other like places we've been looking at saying like how can we do partnerships is through universities and their alumni associations to say like okay their alumni group oftentimes has like children. Is there a way that we can help kids who like they already value education? Is there a way we can help kids and be prepared younger? Because also going into college is a time where kids start to like have big financial their first real financial loans and things like that, which make really big impacts on their future, right? So is there a way we can work with universities to even kind of support that group, but also start working with our alumni to work with the younger kiddos within their alumni family? And then the third one is through financial institutions. So working with them to say there's great value for them to have, like lifetime value of a customer and to have customers who understand and know how to use money. And so how can we partner with them to then find ways to like, do a joint partnership where we can provide curriculum and stuff for their clients in a way that adds value to their clients and supports a future.
Okay. So people better understand, you say kids, teaching kids financial literacy. What does that look like? Because, kids
Yeah.
can mean
Great.
anything.
Yep. So we can tailor the approach very easily. So anywhere from like, we have stuff to say like, okay, if you're at 6 and you're just starting to learn about money, great, or all the way up to 17. We want to work with kids and I guess you could say young, not quite adults, but teenagers who are not yet in a place where they're starting to take out loans because that's where we can really have the most impact. Like we'd love to work with them beforehand and get them some hands-on practice before they're starting to be offered all those credit cards and be making kind of the more significant, impactful decisions.
Okay. So this would this program be something like a parent could have follow along their kid? Hey, they're 6, you're 7. It's
Yeah.
like an ongoing curriculum kind of a deal.
Yep. Yeah. So because this is all very much like related. So the way we teach it is through entrepreneurship or through kid business. And I liken this to like riding a bike. Like I liken learning financial literacy to riding a bicycle. So when you were learning how to ride a bicycle, like, what do you remember learning how to ride a bike?
Uh,
What did you do? What did that
va
look like?
Vaguely, I think. I don't have the
Yeah.
best memory, but I imagine a lot of tears if I had to
Yeah.
guess.
Okay, fair. All right, we're gonna try to minimize some of the tears, but so you're really learning how to ride a bike, or if you're teaching somebody to ride a bike, it's like the first thing you do is like you don't sit them down in front of a video to like watch tapes on somebody else riding a bike. You put them on the bike, you hold onto the seat, and you run behind them. And then once they're kind of like figuring out the balance and all those things, then you let go and you let them like ride off into the distance. Same exact thing applies. You cannot teach financial literacy through just like lecturing and through, um, you know, kind of giving them videos to read or videos to watch or readings to do because it doesn't have meaning yet until they're truly experiencing it on in that. And so the way that we teach it is through a kid, like running a kid business. And I want to be clear that when I say kid business, I mean, like, it doesn't mean I'm looking for an LLC. It doesn't mean I'm looking for, if they're wildly successful, which I hope they are, great, go for the LLC, get your accounting in order, all those things. But For the most part, this is like learning how they can, identify opportunities and go find a way to like make money from that opportunity, right? Or identify how they could if it's not something that's exciting to them. And so when it comes to teaching kids like why it can be such a large range, is like for the kids who are 6 or so, we would start working with like just making money visible and starting to build the awareness around like where's money at, and maybe it looks more like a true lemonade stand or one of those stands. When we work with older adults, then it's like, okay, what are the things you're really excited about or passionate about? And then how can you bring that passion and excitement out to the world, and who would be the people? So it's a lot of the same like kind of ideas around like teaching concepts around business, but tailored to whatever that age group is more appropriately.
Okay. Yeah, I like that because it's a long time back where people are like, oh, he'll get a paper route or a lemonade
Yeah.
stand, and
Yes.
they'll learn the value of the dollar. But you let them do it on their own, they're just as likely to make mistakes when,
Yeah.
if they had a little bit of coaching along the way. Just like if you're an adult starting a business, you might want a coach to help you miss some of those
Yeah.
hurdles that you're going to be running into. So that makes perfect sense. I really
Yeah.
like that.
And and two, like it's okay if people make mistakes, right? Like this is okay. That's a natural part of learning money. In fact, that's probably where a lot of us had some of our biggest money learnings, was that like we made mistakes and like, oh my gosh, like it was painful enough we remember it. Maybe there were tears, maybe there weren't. So I think like when they're young and they're kids, like it's okay. Losing your life savings as a kid is a lot less impactful than losing your life savings as a 30 or 40-year-old or working adult with like a mortgage and kids, right? And so learning to make mistakes and like how to recover from them is also a critical part of this like process of just building that resilience and grit um, and and recovery.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll lead to more entrepreneurship too, because you're going to have less fear about it. Like a lot of people,
Yeah.
when you're starting off, they're like, don't do that. You're going to leave your security and you're going to go into something that never works because nobody knows how it works. And
Yes.
the only people that actually take that jump are the ones that are willing to start learning those bits. So,
Yes. And that comment about security, like that's why I mentioned like the W-2 security is not is that security that we have is maybe not fully valid, right? And in fact, I know that Gen Z, like that's a double dip. Like anybody who's been in Gen Z, they really value security. And what we're seeing is they're not actually going into market, or not going into corporate roles. They're going into entrepreneurship because they've lived through their parents going through a double dip recession, right? And so, hey, if security is what you value, 100%. I value that too. And you can find that security through corporate, you can find it through your own entrepreneurship, you can find it through many ways. But the way you find true security is actually like knowing how to manage your own finances, regardless of whatever avenue you decide to work in.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that is a false sense of security. You're basically just saying, you figure it out for me. I believe in you, right? It's like,
Yes, yes.
well, they could work. It also might not. What do you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
awesome. So, just some basic questions I think most of us have is, first off, how do I teach my kids about money?
Yeah. So the very first starting point we recommend for parents, and this is going to sound so basic, but it's so critical, is making money visible. Today it is completely invisible. And if you think about teaching your kids anything, so teaching them the very beginnings of math or whatever it is, like they're always working with manipulatives and things they can see and feel and all those things. Money today does not have that. In fact, I've got a daughter and she wanted to buy a backpack and replace her newer backpack. And I was like, well, that costs money. She's like, no, it doesn't. You just hit a button and it shows up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I think that was like one of my big light bulb moments of like, ooh, we got to change this conversation. Like she has no idea. So step one, make money visible. And that can look like going to the store and giving your kids, $5 or $10 in cash, whatever is appropriate. And then letting them pick something out. And that will start to help them, one, see that there's a constraint to the money. So like you can spend $5 or $10, but you can only spend that one $5 and $10 once. So is this the right priority that you want to make? And things like that. It starts opening those conversations. And two, it just demonstrates to them that, like if you want something that's more expensive, you can either wait or you can choose something different.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Because it not being visible has been a problem for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and your kids are going into that world, and it's trying to take advantage of their money. They want it to be invisible. They want you to think, oh, I just press a button
Yeah,
and I'll deal with it later. That's tomorrow me's problem.
exactly.
Don't let them go into that grinder, right? Give
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
direction.
I mean, they're going into that. They don't even realize that they're about to go into that grinder. I think so. Like they have no concept of it. And it's funny, we had a pop-up kind of lemonade stand over the summer, and I had kids who were helping us. Like it was anybody who's around, all the kids could come and help run the business, right? So it was more of a demonstration of like, how can you do this? And some of the younger kids came in, and there was this man who bought, $2 worth of items, and he handed a bill to the kid. And so I said, oh, like, all right, kiddo, let's give this, like, what kind of change do we need to give him? And I knew this child could do math, like I knew them personally. So I was like, what's happening here? And I could see that this kid was just totally stuck. And I was like, what's going on? And I realized like, oh my gosh, he sees one bill and he knows that he needs $2. And what he didn't realize is the bill had a five on it and there was a $5 bill. And so then I asked some of the other kids, I said, did you know if you look at money that there's a number in the corner, in all the corners, and it tells you what it's worth? And so then we pulled money out of our cash box. And I was like, okay, here's a 20. And then like had him do games around like, okay, here's a 10 and a five and five ones. Like how many different ways can you get to $20 using these different bills? And anyways, so it is very invisible and they just don't even have a great concept there. So
That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have considered that. I mean, it's clearly something that I probably went through at some point because I didn't
yeah,
know, but not
yeah,
something I remember to teach. It's just kind of interesting. I
yes,
like that.
yeah.
So there's a lot of us out there that want to say, okay, talk to me like I'm five so that I can catch up. And a lot of us are a little bit too afraid to ask. But what tips do you have for anyone, kids, parents, whatever, is trying to build good money habits?
Oh gosh, a lot of it is around, so one, just being realistic about kind of like what your goals are. So if you don't have, wherever you're starting from is a great place to start and start. And I think that's the biggest, like it sounds so silly, but a lot of people, because there's so many emotions tied to it, just pause or freeze and don't move forward. So the one tip is, I guess, making money visible, even for yourself. That's a great tip for adults too, if you're finding that you're spending more. It just makes it easier to recognize, like it's a lot more obvious you're spending the money when you're handing cash over versus tapping your credit card. The second one is really watching your mindset around money, right? So there's two approaches, and I think what we hear most is like, oh, we can't afford that. It totally could be totally true, but adding the word yet to the back of that then completely changes the approach to it. So just the mindset around like, okay, not yet, but I could find a way to earn money. I could save my money to get there, right? And that is a really important element because it also starts again to talking about priorities for you, as well as starting to think about kind of the growth mindset around like it's not impossible, and kind of breaking that hidden wall. And then the third thing I think would say is that like everybody has skills and unique that are unique to them, or strengths that are great that other people really value. And so what we tell them parents to do is like, be opportunity spotters or help kids become opportunity spotters to start giving yourself the proof that there are many ways that you can make money, and how people are doing that, right? So are they solving a problem, or are they, sharing their passion of the world, that others value, right? So like these stunning artists that have these great murals around Seattle, for example, it's like those artists are bringing something that is so valuable to the community to us, and they found a way to then like live and create a living off of that, to do that. And the man at the hot dog stand at the end of the games, like he's found a problem, which is like, hey, when people are coming out of Seahawks games or Mariners games, they are ready to eat a hot dog. So, or they're hungry, and like I can provide them a hot dog and I can charge whatever the heck I want to for that. And I can even charge them $8 for a bottle of water. It's all good. Like, so I think just identifying where the opportunities and what are things you enjoy doing. So if it's you enjoy cooking, how can you bring that to the world and do that, and helping your kids see that as well. Again, it like kind of flips that growth mindset around like, oh, like I have value to add and I can, and other people value and want that skill.
Yeah, and I think you guys are doing exactly that. Like I said, it's a common thing. We know we weren't taught, and we need to be. So,
Yes.
uh, perfect. Is there anything that I missed that you wanted to add?
Well, maybe I can share too this. So one of the hardest things about doing any of this stuff, either working and addressing your finances or starting to teach finances or beginning a little business, is getting started. So this on January 2nd through January 4th, we're running a learn to earn camp for kiddos. So we'll have a couple of digital products they can use, and we'll walk the kiddos through kind of creating their digital product and then uploading it and then putting it for sale, where they can then practice, practice setting prices and practice marketing, and put into practice some of those kind of earning money elements we have, and trying to really shortcut that to get the first one out of the way. So that, and also recognizing, being parents ourselves, realize it's a long stretch for winter break. And so this could give your kiddos something to focus on the last half of after the holidays.
Awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find us on at lemonadestandards.org, and standards, it's lemonade is spelled like lemonade, and then standards is STANDERS.org. And that's where you'll be able to register for the challenge. And then Anthony, I'll send you a link, all of our links to our website and emails. And we'd love to hear from you and hear where you're at in your own financial journey. And if we can support it all, like that's exactly what we're here to do. And let's get this next generation set up for success.
Perfect. And like you said, I'm gonna have all that in the description so nobody has to hunt for it. We're gonna make it as easy as possible. But
I appreciate it.
if anybody out there would like to get in touch with Emily or her sister, absolutely do it. There's literally no negative here. Go talk to them, learn about money, teach your kids about money. Let's set the next generation up better than we were. That's the whole idea as parents is I want to leave my kids better off than what I was. The clear cut, you know it. It's an obvious way is teach them about money now so that they don't make the same mistakes and they're better off, and then they can do the next step for the next generation and so on. So, really great first step. Super excited what you guys are doing. If you're a little shy and you prefer an introduction, just ask me. I'm more than happy to make a three-way introduction for you as well. Other than that, if anybody else out there would like to be interviewed, feel free. I'll have my link tree in the description below all of their information so you can reach out for me. I'd love to have a conversation. But again, Emily, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm very excited about what you guys are doing. Like I said, it was kind of uh oh, obviously, why haven't we been doing this all around? Because we keep complaining about it. So I'm really excited to see that you guys are doing it. So let's get out there. Let's help some more folks and meet more people. All right.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful meeting you and getting to chat today. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.